Project number 2 for today. Here's the old Yardman here that we've been working on. Eventually my plans are basically to do a frame off, restore, mainly just clean it up and replace things that need replaced, and give it a good bath and paint it. Most everything on this guy is in decent working condition. Need to rebuild the seat, get a new seat, and eventually at some point I will get an engine rebuild kit. It's a Collier 22 Courage, I think, and they still make rebuild kits for them, and even new valves and stuff if necessary. But anyway, the most pressing problem lately is with the brake here. When you push the brake, it's kind of supposed to stop it, and this one, doesn't. Things wear out. It's very common. Brakes on your car wear out. Well, here's our brake assembly. They don't look too bad, really. They're kind of worn in a strange pattern, I guess. Maybe that's just, I don't know. You don't see these out very often, because generally the tractors, the yard tractors and small tractors that you buy nowadays, while it has a similar thing like the Troy built over there underneath the tarp, has one, but they don't last long enough to actually wear one out before the tractor poops out or rusts all the crap. They still make these. They're not particularly expensive, like $7 a piece. But anyway, that's today's project. And I believe I have some wheel bushings in the box of parts accumulated for this guy, and we need to get some new ones on the fronts, because they're one of them is leaning, and I may look at retrofitting or coming up with a retrofit kit. I know on some of the smaller yard tractors they make kits to replace the nylon bushings, which is what even this thing uses. With an actual bearing, which is a lot more sturdy and lasts longer. So this is a model 1999 Yardman 22 horse lawn and garden tractor. We just took the snowplow off. We're fixing to put the brakes on here, fix my front tire, and we'll put the mowing deck back on it for this year's mowing season. Yeah, I need to clean the engine. All right. Well, I guess the real reason why I couldn't adjust the brakes down to where they would work, since those brake pads I took off didn't look too awful bad, was simply because the bolt wouldn't turn anymore. The threads are all boogered up, and you can't really see in that section. There's just like a hole on the side of the frame. You loosen the lock nut, which goes right here, that's holding all this together. I had to cut this guy off. Anyway, that's what pushes up against the frame that the brake pad is in, and then as the pad wears, you just move this bolt in a little further and a little further and a little further until you exhaust all the pad. And it wouldn't move any further, so I couldn't really see in there. I thought it was at the end of its travel, so that's why we ordered a brake pad, since they're pretty common to go out anyway for older tractors. But the problem, of course, is well, it's got this nice rounded edge, and it needs that rounded edge. How these work is you have a rounded edge on this side and a rounded edge on this side, and you drive a wedge shape in between here. This side's fixed, this side is the brake pad, and so as you drive that wedge in there, of course the brake pad moves that way. closes the gap, squeezes it against the friction plate, or like a brake rotor. So I need to make a nice little rounded edge here. And our local hardware store that actually has a decent selection of bolts and nuts and doodads did not have, like, there's this entire aisle, this whole big wall of drawers of all different shapes and sizes and types of bolts, and about 95% of them are all coarse thread, and of course this is a fine thread. So I'm going to machine a nice little round part here. This is a grade 5 because I couldn't find any grade 8s, but that should work for this application for a number of years, probably. Unfortunately, I'm not a machinist and I don't have access to some nice stuff, so we're going to do this by hand. Dremel, sandpaper, and a file, and we'll see how smooth and round I can get this and as close to the profile as possible. We'll see. Well, I put it in high range and floored it and then stomped on the brakes. Actually, I did that a couple times. Oops. We have skid marks everywhere. Brakes work though. They were good.